Hello, everyone. It's an interesting day today. With us today, we have a very renowned speaker, Saurabh, who comes with a great expertise in cybersecurity architects who help businesses to build strong security foundations. What certification should I count? I think the counts will end with CISSP, CGRC, CCSP, CIPP, CSM, CISA, and many more. We come with immense knowledge. This discussion is very important. Why? Because we wanted to understand about the compliance to strategize mastering CGRC and RMF for the modern enterprises. Welcome, Saurabh. Welcome for giving up your time to us and coming with us today. It's nice having you on board with us. Over to you, Saurabh. Would you like to tell something about yourself today?
Yeah, well, hi everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are listening to this episode. Thanks, Anas, for that wonderful, introduction. Well, hi, my name is Saurabh Garg, and I have around 14 years of experience in the cybersecurity. Coming with the understanding of various security domains, and my experience has been driven into that. Uh, with security architectures, implementing the security controls, assessing them, evaluating them, and everything. And today we'll be, talking specifically about GRC and the relevance of CGRC in today's world, and why it is important. What are the various aspects, within the GRC that should be focused upon by any security consultant, security engineer, or security architect, and uh, yeah, I mean, how this is important, especially from compliance standpoint. We'll be discussing about that and how I was able to, and I'm still able to deliver this to my customers by leveraging the GRC frameworks that we'll be discussing.
The first, we'll understand about that what is CGRC, risk management framework. The CGRC's mindset, use of common controls,
Yeah.
briefing of RMF and into practical scaling, SDLC mapping with RMF, the role of CGRC in an enterprise's small discussion on of FIPS standard. So let's start with the basics. Or what is exactly CGRC and why it's becoming increasingly critical for organizations today?
So CGRC basically stands for, Certified in Governance, Risk and Compliance. Okay. It is a certification, which I did recently, a couple of months back. But more than that, it is also, a framework in itself, which
Okay.
focuses on unifying, three key aspects of GRC, your governance, risk management, and, your compliance to the laws, regulations, standards, etc.
Mhm.
So let me break this down individually. So your governance basically, ensures that your organization understands the
Okay.
business objectives, the business goals, and then align its IT, goals and IT
Okay.
objectives with it. Okay, so uh, it's about setting the clear policies. Okay,
Okay.
and roles and responsibilities that will guide your decision making. Then
Okay.
risk management will deal with the three phases, like you assess the risk, then you identify the risk, assess the risk, and you mitigate the risk. So
Okay.
this cycle of risk management is also a part of GRC, and how this can help in saving the organization's business as well as their reputation. And
Mhm.
finally, compliance will or is adherence to the laws, regulations, and standards like your GDPR, HIPAA,
Okay.
ISO 27K, etc. So what makes this CGRC crucial is that it doesn't treat all these elements in silos, rather it integrates them. Okay.
Oh.
Uh, yeah. So with the in today's world, with the lot of cyber attacks we have, the
Yes.
the threat landscape is increasing every day. So it becomes very important, and CGRC becomes the tool for resilience. In protecting the organizations from such attacks. So the organizations or the enterprises, which adopt CGRC,
Mhm.
they are pretty much better prepared to prevent the breaches. Their response time on the incidents is,
Okay.
within the SLAs, and is, like they can promptly respond to the incidents with the help of this framework, and they can obviously, avoid the hefty fines by
Hmm.
regulators. So that is the relevance and the importance of CGRC.
Sounds interesting. Could you share a real world example with CGRC where played a transformation role in an organization? Because that's how learners can connect it in a very simple way.
Okay, sure. Consider a multinational bank that operates
Okay.
worldwide, let's say 30 countries. You know, Before adopting CGRC or the GRC framework, their
Okay.
compliance efforts were fragmented, as in, their individual regional offices used to, interpret the regulatory requirements differently, which ultimately leads to inefficiencies, non-coherence between various security departments under the overall, the cybersecurity strategy which they
Right.
have. So, with the implementation of the proper GRC framework, the bank
Mhm.
basically streamlined their compliance processes across all regions.
Okay.
Uh, they created a unified risk management framework, okay, which was applicable to all their, regional and branch offices, okay. And
Mhm.
then, as per the regulations which were applicable to each region, were
Okay.
achieved. And with that, the results were pretty much remarkable. They were able to uh, reduce the audit preparation time, because they were pretty much, once this framework was completely implemented and their security posture was in a good shape, then after that their the time for audit preparation was, was quick. They don't have to spend much times in that.
Mm.
And they were also able to avoid the hefty penalties from the regulators.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is how, that's the, I'll say, the power of GRCs. And this framework will basically unifies everything, and we can say it can, turn chaotic things into a coherent scenario.
That's absolutely fine. In simple words, I can say this basic CGRC implementation can make you a lot of unsettled information into very streamlined process and streamlined understanding and tracking.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So now let's move on to risk management framework, or you can commonly say it RMF as well.
Sure. See, this RMF is risk management framework. This has been conceptualized and developed, which is currently adopted by many government and non-government
Okay.
organizations. So this has been conceptualized and developed by NIST under 837, document series.
One thing
And
I would like to add, Saurabh, you use the word nest. I think nest is something which is important to tell our audience for a second if you can let about nest.
so NIST is basically a American body, National
Yeah.
Institute of Standards and Technology,
Okay.
and they basically publishes the standards for cybersecurity,
Okay.
frameworks for cybersecurity. That is their view, of enforcing the standardization across industries of security controls, which
Hmm.
can be, by achieving that, an organization say that they are pretty much up to the standard, of their security posture. So
Okay,
NIST
that's
is
nice.
that body, and there is a lot of reference, NIST in everywhere, especially in the world of CISSPs, then CGRCs and everything. We talk NIST a lot, and people who are in this industry, they understand NIST better.
Absolutely true. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So as I was saying, under 837, NIST 837, they have, outlined the entire framework, how the risk management should be done, and how an organization can enforce the risk management as a practice into, into their various business units. So it covers, the seven elements, like, or the seven stages, starting from preparation up till, monitoring of risk, which is, prepare, categorize, select, implement, assess, authorize, and monitor. Okay, so in like we can talk briefly about each stage. Basically, in
Okay.
prepare stage, the entire preparation happens. The stakeholder identification happens for the risk management,
Mhm.
the defining of roles and responsibilities. The scope is identified in this particular stage. Then in categorize, the systems are categorized basis on basis of the data they are hosting, or they are using. So like low, moderate, or high sensitivity data, and the potential impact of the breach it could have on CIA. So on that
Okay.
basis, categorization is happening. And for categorization, we have a dedicated FIPS standard. So FIPS 199, and we'll talk about that later on. So that is about categorization. Then selection is basically, the selection of the appropriate controls
Oh,
that should be enforced is done under this particular step. And when I say controls, so controls can be taken from any framework,
uh,
but since we are talking about NIST over here, so the most relevant, document for referring the controls becomes 853. So it is,
okay.
I'll say, a Bible of security controls,
Right.
both technical and non-technical managerial, every controls. And,
Mhm.
it is the job of security architects in consultation with system owners to, pick the relevant controls. Then implementation is actually enforcing these controls after the selection which has been made. uh, Assessing before control, let's say, is I'll say in assess phase, basically, we need to understand the effectiveness of this control. Over a period of time, how much effective this control has been. Is it really giving us, or is it really giving the infrastructure the protection, which it is desired to give? So
Mhm.
that is under the assess phase. And in authorization, a formal decision is, made by the okay, so there is an authorizing official, okay, AO,
Okay.
and
Okay.
this word AO and this role is very important from CGRC, both from exam perspective, as well as even from in the real life practical scenarios as well. So
Right.
a formal decision is given by AO in this authorized phase, that whether the risk is accepted, or it can mitigate the risk associated with the system. Okay,
Mhm.
the controls. So there are four types of authorization quickly, ATO, authorization to operate, then common control authorization, authorization to use, and finally the denial of authorization altogether. Okay. And then the
Okay.
last phase is monitor phase. It is a continuous monitoring phase, uh, that the risk remains within the acceptable levels, within the risk appetite, and the controls stay relevant and effective over a period of time. This phase is, again, if not most important, then very important phase. And that is where most of the organizations who experience cyber attacks were, is seen that they were not able to monitor their
Mhm.
entire risk assessment program effectively. So this is very important.
There's one thing I think, as far as I have seen, the implementation of RMF is something which really need to be understanding in a simple sense. So, can you share any practical example of RMF implementations? Because you have already been in industry for multiple years.
Yeah, certainly. Quickly, I'll summarize all these phases in the example. So let's assume that there is a government contractor, okay, in US, who needs to comply to the federal cybersecurity laws, okay, and standards. So and he needs to secure the um, classified information system of its client, right? Since it's a government contractor, so he started by categorizing the system based upon the FIPS 199. Then
Uh,
for the categorized system, he needs to enforce the encryption controls, right, guided by FIPS 140-2 standard. And after implementing these controls, he goes to the authorizing official AO for getting the approval to to enforce these controls into operations. And through continuous monitoring, he identified the potential risks over a period of time proactively, which were relevant to the system, and mitigated them. So this not only ensured the compliance, but also, it helped in, I'll say, in uplifting the overall data security posture for
Okay.
its clients. So that is how, in a real term, in a real world, this RMF can be enforced.
That's nicely you have explained. So just shifting the gear, let's talk about CGRC's mindset. What does it mean and how does it play a role in a practical task?
Okay, sure. So CGRC mindset, it involves viewing all the three elements, governance, risk, and compliance,
Okay.
as an interconnected elements rather than, seeing them in isolation. Okay. It's all about your proactive planning and decision making that will account, for both organization goals in achieving the organization goals as well as the regulatory requirements. Okay.
Okay.
So CGRC mindset, it's basically the mindset of risk assessor along with, I'll say, the compliance officer, which side by side tracks entire
You use a
everything.
very
Yeah.
interesting thing in this definition, Saurabh, I must say, security officer and the risk assessor. Can you just make a small differentiation
Yeah,
in this
yeah, yeah.
from your
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, when I say, a risk assessor is a person who actually, identifies the risks, who does the
Okay.
risk assessment. So that he's a risk assessor. Compliance officer is the one who enforces and who makes sure that, the systems or the business unit or the enterprise is meeting the compliance or the regulatory requirements. Okay.
Okay.
So CGRC mindset would be a mindset, who will see both of these roles together, okay,
Hmm.
and who will interpret the requirements coming from both of them. Okay.
Oh,
So
that's
like,
interesting.
so in the world of CISSPs, there is a common, saying that what is a CISSP mindset, what is a managerial mindset. So
Correct.
in CGRC, there is no such CGRC mindset, but yes, that is the definition, which I would like to, or which I had for myself, that would be the mindset,
Hmm.
uh, where the GRC takes the front seat, so that is how it is. So there are, I'll say, few golden rules or principles
Okay.
for GRC CGRC mindset, maximizing the use of common controls, and we'll be
Oh,
talking about common controls, in a bit, but those are very much important because they ensures the enforcement of standardization. Okay.
oh,
And the benefits of standardization and all, we'll talk about it in a bit, and obviously it also saves a lot of cost. Maximizing the use of shared as well as, cloud based controls, because when the controls are shared, they don't need individual reassessments. So once it is assessed for a period of time, it remains relevant to be enforced on n number of systems. So wherever we can, use such controls, it is always beneficial. It is time effective. It is cost effective. Okay. And maximize the use of risk management framework. So that is basically the principles of, CGRC mindset. Also for compliance, I would say use automated tools, to
oh.
track your compliances. So yeah, these are,
Can you
the
recommend
few
automated tool?
principles.
Can you
There are
recommend
many,
your
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, we do have Zekta. That is one of
okay,
the important,
nice.
tools, which I've seen, uh, I have like been aware with their interfaces and how it works. Then, the common tools which the enterprises are adopting these days or have already at their side, like your Archer,
Okay.
your Service Now GRC tool. So these are pretty much equipped to track your compliances, and to give a single pane of glass view for the
Hmm.
dashboards of compliance.
That's absolutely fine, Gaurav. So let's dive into the concept of common controls. So what exactly are the common controls and why they are so important in governance and risk management from your end? We wanted to know from you.
So basically, any security control that can be leveraged to multiple systems can be said as a common control. Okay, so
Hmm.
common controls, they are the standardized security measures,
Okay.
that are applied across multiple systems, environments, architectures, processes within an organization. Okay, now they support consistency. They helps in achieving the standardization
Hmm.
across the environments. So we categorize common controls into three broad categories: the system specific,
Hmm.
uh,
Okay.
the common, as well as the hybrid controls. Okay,
Hmm.
so system specific, they are particular to a system, but for those particular systems, they still can be cut common, like they still can be leveraged across those particular system. Then there are at a architecture level only, the controls are common, like
Okay.
MFA, for an example, multi-factor authentication. So
Okay.
this is a control which you can, apply to your multiple, systems, applications, your entry points to your architecture. So everywhere you can apply. So this is pretty much, as at an architecture level only, it is common. Then we do have hybrid controls, which is a mix of both your system specific as well as your, common control. Like then, the importance of these controls, as I said earlier, they helps in saving time. Excuse me. They ensures consistency across the environment. They also simplify the audits, so this is very important. Like, the uh, audit preparation for an organization, is very frequent these days, because with the uh, with the rise in complexity of the regulations, and uh, obviously organization needs to ensure their compliance to standards and frameworks. So in audits, if there is a lot of use of common controls, so audits become simple, I would say. you know um, yeah, I mean, these are the benefits of common controls, and and it is very important. Wherever we can use common controls, use it.
So could you just provide some example how common controls used in practices these days?
Okay, so as I said, MFA, MFA is a
Okay.
common control, and it is a
Okay.
widely known common control, which is used
Okay.
by every organization, I would say. Okay, so this is that control which you can leverage to your, to your financial systems. This is for finance departments, to your, HR portals, HR systems, to your, the databases which have the user information for your
Hmm.
customers, and everywhere. So this is the example of, leveraging a single common control across various types of systems.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
interesting. What tools do you think, I mean, we talk about the tool and the frameworks, can help organizations effectively manage the implementation of common controls from your end, just to understanding from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are several, tools and frameworks that are designed to streamline the management of common controls. Even,
Hmm.
as I have given the example of RSA Archer,
Right.
so that's a platform, and it's a very, I'll say, very robust platform that helps in
Absolutely.
managing, mapping, and monitoring, your common controls. Then ServiceNow GRC, it integrates the control management into the broader governance workflows. Okay, so that is also another very widely used tool. Then Zekta, that is a tool for mainly used for automation, the documentation, and the tracking of common controls within the RMF for the RMF compliance. Okay,
Right.
then NIST OSCAL, so that's an open source tool. It provides a standardized. It is a platform for standardization of formatting of documentation and sharing the control implementation.
Controls. Right. That's interesting. So now the Archer is the tool which people nowadays are actually using. I think the domination in market is Archer is more in compared to any other tool, sort of, as far as I believe. What's your point on that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So at an enterprise level, broadly, I've seen Archers, ServiceNow
Mhm.
GRC tools, I'll say these are the two most used tools for
That's
entire,
interesting.
risk management related tasks.
Absolutely. So with this, let's brief about the RMF into practicing and scaling it now. So uh, how can you just understand about this bringing RMF into practice effectively and scale to meet their growing needs?
Uh, so the only way to scale, RMF across is, using the automation. And it is
Oh,
using automation is a tool for scaling, not only just for, RMF, but for anything else also. For everything,
okay.
automation is the your go-to-go thing, for scale. So start small and modular. But ultimately, leverage automation wherever possible, and the
Mhm.
tools like Zecta, the ServiceNow GRC, they serves a good platform to automate your leveraging the controls for the risk management, and including the common controls and everything. Then always to scale, always have a single repository of uh, the controls that needs to be established, the security controls especially, and the use of common controls. The more common controls can be used, the more you can scale on it.
Okay.
So that is another your key for scale.
From your point of view, do you think really AI going to assist more in terms of automation in GRC, or it's going to be going hand to hand
No,
together?
absolutely. No, absolutely. With the rapid increasing use of AI in everything, even GRC is no, exception to it. So, i- with building, on the data models, it becomes very easy, in automating the selection of security controls,
Oh,
the relevance of
right.
security controls for my environment. So obviously AI is anyway gonna assist, in the automations, and it obviously helps in reducing the time also for your control selection, implementation. The people who are responsible for enforcing controls have to be bit careful with the implementation of these controls, or they have to, monitor it. But yes, definitely AI is, will be helpful in achieving automation faster and faster, and scaling the entire framework.
Really, sounds interesting. Thanks, Saurabh, for giving your light on that. What challenges do organizations face when scaling RMF, and how can they overcome with them then?
Uh, sure. So, I'll talk about my experience. So there was an IT
That's
MNC,
interesting. Yeah.
who was struggling to manage risk across its operations. So they started by implementing the RMF for a critical financial system. As a pilot project, they refined their processes and automated the workflows.
Oh,
So
okay.
once this pilot was successful, they scaled RMF to other systems by leveraging the frameworks and centralized repositories for common controls. Okay, so this approach with this approach, they reduced the compliance efforts by 40 to 50% and improved their overall risk posture very significantly.
Oh, that sounds interesting. When you shared about this, let's the not based out a success story. Can you share any organization success story successfully scaled RMF?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll not be taking the names of
Sure.
organizations. Yeah, but then definitely, that's what I have seen. If the standardized frameworks are enforced in the risk management practices, the the organization is able to achieve success in, managing the risks efficiently. So definitely,
Okay.
yes.
That's interesting, Saurabh. Thanks for giving understanding on that. With this, let's move on
Yeah.
SDLC, mapping with RMF. So, how does risk management framework align with software development life cycle?
So that's interesting, because RMF and SDLC, they align seamlessly with each other. Okay. in everywhere, in the form of structure, in form of approach, in their in their management processes, in everywhere. Each phase of RMF is aligned to one or many phases of SDLC. So, like,
Okay,
yeah, so SDLC phases, you have your initiation, development, acquisition, implementation, assessment, then operation and maintenance, and disposal. So,
right.
individually, you can map each phase, but it will not be one-to-one mapping. It can be one-to-many mapping at either side. So, you're like, let us say, your prepare and categorization phase of RMF map to the initiation phase of
Mhm.
SDLC, then selection, implementation, and assessment maps towards the development and acquisition phase of SDLC.
Okay,
Then authorization is mapped towards the implementation and assessment phase of
right.
SDLC. Then, monitoring is mapped with both operations and maintenance and disposal phase of
Mhm.
SDLC.
Sounds interesting. So, what are the benefits of mapping RMF to SDLC then?
So, mapping RMF to SDLC ensures that you proactively, are able to manage your risks. Obviously, it is cost and time effective. Then you regularly, are able to get a view, or you are able to track your compliances. Like, RMF ensures that the security controls meets the regulatory requirements. Reducing your audit risks times and everything. So, yeah.
Does it really help in cost savings as well?
Uh, it will. Yes, it
Okay.
does. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So let's talk about the next topic we're going to talk about. Importance role. What important roles in enterprises actually we want to have. So let's talk about the key involved in RMF implementation. Who are the main
Mm.
players? Who's the key players? What they do and how they really bring this amazing process into the table. And let us understand about this how enterprises really work and how who are those main ingredients in terms of people. If we say they set up everything for this all RMF.
So there are, many roles which are, outlined by, in the by NIST also in their
Okay.
RMF. But
Mhm.
let's quickly touch upon the two main critical roles, which
Okay.
gets discussed everywhere, which is AO and AODR. As I said
Right.
earlier, also in the start of the podcast, that this is the very important role, authorizing
Absolutely.
official. AO is basically responsible for making the final decision to authorize any system for operation. Okay,
Mhm.
so this role involves, in reviewing the risk assessments, then in
Okay.
balancing, the mission needs and the security risks, and accepting, or rejecting the system based upon the risk profiles.
Mhm.
Okay, then you have your AODR, which performs all the functions same as AO, except he cannot formally, gives the authorization to a
Okay.
system for its use. Okay, so basically AODR acts as the coordinator between the implementation and between the implementation team and the the assessment team for the
Okay.
controls. Okay, he acts as a bridge
Right.
between the technical team as well as on the AO on the other side as well. Ensuring that all the risks are getting documented and getting addressed. And once he feels that the entire package is in a good shape, then he sends for review to AO. And ultimately, if AO feels that it is good to put the system in use, he gives a formal sign off.
Absolutely nice. These are two actually the key ingredients we have seen in terms of role implementation, but also sort of you have been in industry and you know about this that when there is a different role, different type of personality comes together, different type of thoughts come together. Do you really agree on that? What if there is a miscommunication between these roles actually?
Yeah, so miscommunication, can lead to serious consequences, like delay in the system authorization, overlooking of critical risks, then your, compliance violations.
Mhm.
It can have the severe consequences.
That's nice. Thank you. Okay, how could you explain about FIPS with their
So
significance, or?
basically, the people who who are aware about CGRC or CISSP, they must have heard this standard, FIPS standard. So this basically this is meant for the federal entities, okay, in US. So FIPS 140-2, it focuses on providing the requirements for cryptographic modules, okay, and its validation. It ensures that the encryption methods, meet the federal security requirements. The
Okay.
FIPS 199, it categorizes the information system based upon the potential impact of violation
Okay.
of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So on those bases, it establishes the three levels: low, moderate, and high, and how a system should be categorized. So that is, outlined by FIPS 199. Then
Mm.
FIPS 200, it basically outlines the minimum security requirements for any federal system. Okay, so let's say like access control mechanism, incident response, all these things are outlined in FIPS 200. So in together, they form the backbone of federal cybersecurity systems.
Absolutely, Saurabh. But how are these standards applied in real world scenarios, Saurabh?
So let's
Your
take
views
a
on this?
sure, sure. Yeah, so let's take a government healthcare organization,
Okay.
in US. Okay, so how these standards become relevant is that they have their patient records. Okay, so by implementing or by using FIPS 140-2, they enforce the cryptographic requirements. They needs to they basically ensure that the cryptographic requirements are applied on the critical systems which host their patient data, and by doing
Okay.
so they become compliant to FIPS 140-2, as well as HIPAA requirements as well to some
Okay.
extent. So like these go hand in hand for the I'll say for the federal entities.
That's interesting. That's thank you, Saurabh. So I think as far as I remember, last time when we were discussing, you used a word called Mango Guide. I think that's a part of important documents for the CGRC. Could you just give a highlight on that if possible?
Absolutely. So that is the document which I also used. But
Okay.
uh, coming to the CGRC as a certification, as an exam, with the
Mhm.
latest outline, uh, which has been in practice since June 2024. ISC2 has made very clear by including privacy in
Mhm.
three or four domains, that privacy is no longer to be seen isolated from the GRC stream.
Okay.
So they have included the privacy controls, privacy standards, privacy baseline, everything, in this latest outline. Uh, the the important documents for CGRC is definitely your list 837, then 853 revision 5, 853 for baselining, then Mango Guide. It is the document available on the internet, which has been authored by Jim, and it is absolutely very concise and very informative document that can be used by the people who plan to appear for CGRC, and even who are working on the governance risks and compliances as a part of their job in the real world. And obviously CBK, that is the ultimate guide for this.
That's
And there are,
absolutely
yeah, there are few standards, few processes that people should be knowing. One is your PCI DSS,
huh.
then FedRAMP. It is also and its usage is also very important. Common control standards, very important, and we have this already touched upon it. And the understanding of audits and audit reports, and
Okay.
how they should be read. So there are, many sample audit reports out there on the internet, which,
Mhm.
people who are already in GRC or who wants to pursue their career into GRC, they can go through the SOC 2 audit reports and so on, and they will get a good understanding that
Okay.
what are the key findings during the audits and what should be taken care, prior those findings becomes non-conformities.
That's absolutely amazing, Saurabh. I must say, I think you have covered the entire basic understanding about the CGRC in a very short span of time. And the way you have explained with great example, it's really appreciable from our end. We will be coming to the now closing part of this discussion in the podcast today, Saurabh.
No, sure. CGRC, if I have to talk about the certification, so formerly it was known as CAP, Certified Authorization Professional, obviously, conducted by ISC2. The relevance of it is, becoming very prominent in the industry. And with the adoption of, the GRC frameworks
Okay,
by the industry. So, I would say, this will this is relevant and will stay relevant for a very long time,
absolutely.
and yeah, it covers the topics like common controls and their importance, which is, very much real from the practical life. And, in the world of GRCs, people who are either the security engineers or architects, they know, what common controls are and what is their importance and everything. So, definitely people, who are into this field of information security, GRCs, or wants to make their career into this, they should, consider, going for CGRC. And yeah, rest
That's
wherever
absolutely
we can help, we would love to.
such a concrete reply, Saurabh. Thank you so much, really, for giving this information. Okay, Saurabh, we have just reached to the conclusion of this interactive session which you have given to us today. For sure, we'll come up some more discussion in future with you along with some great information. Thank you, Saurabh, for such an informative discussion. Remember that cybersecurity isn't just about technology. The way what I have actually learned with Saurabh's discussion today, it's about integrating the governance, risk, and compliance into your organizations DNA. But because when we talk about DNA, it means that it's so deep inside the system that it really make a great impact on the entire outer structure or the company's culture, which we are actually following up. Until next time, stay secure, stay vigilant, be complementing to each other and support each other. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for giving available time for us. Have a good day, Saurabh.
Anytime. Thank you, Anas. Thank you, everyone.